Hey there, Skullheads. I'm Snags.
And I'm Ol Silky.
And you're not. So, tonight we're going to talk about. You'll notice some of these cats we cover, we dig them so much we do more than one episode on them. We ran across a Bruce Lee book that really lays down a whole different side of Bruce Lee's personality. A lot of the stuff he was struggling with. You know, he's got this image as this invincible warrior guy, but he actually had a lot of health issues, emotional issues resulting from steroid use and all kinds of shit. It was kind of messy. It was a lot of shit going on. So we want to chat about that side of Bruce Lee.
And then it's basically stuff that we kind of didn't know.
Right.
And we did that
when we did the first Bruce Lee episode. Right.
This book came to light, and by the end of it, I'm like, oh my God, we gotta.
And then there's a TV series called Warrior, which is based on the original idea he pitched that they ripped off for the show Kung Fu. Well, they actually did the idea. They did a TV series in the last few years based on Bruce Lee's idea of a Kung Fu master in the Old West. And
I'm pretty sure his daughter.
His daughter. His daughter was the executive producer, Shannon Lee.
Yeah, Shannon,
and it's fucking brilliant. I just finished watching it's 3 seasons. I just finished watching the whole thing for the second time. Ol Silky's the one who hipped me to it, and so we're gonna talk about that after we talk about the book. But before that, we got to get to some important current news. First of all, urgent, just breaking, just in the last. I'm just seeing this on X right now in the last few seconds. Tool has still not released a new album.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we got a few other things.
They will. So let's beat that horse into the fucking ground.
Yeah. Every episode, I think, is going to be a new. It's going to be a new riff.
I'm not impressed.
That's because you don't have the excellent sense of humor that I do.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got? We got some other news.
Oh yeah. So this past week, Wink Martindale, host of Tic Tac Doe back in the day,
the Winkster. Yeah.
A brief thing. Wink Martindale did the very first TV interview with Elvis in 1956, right as he'd signed with RCA and left Sun Records.
And so the reason Silky's babbling seemingly irrelevantly about Wink Martindale is because he died. So
I said that.
No, you didn't. You never mentioned that.
I just said Wink Martindale.
You just started rambling about Wink.
Passed away.
He hit the dirt, bit the dust, kicked the bucket.
The eternal dirt nap.
Went to see Lemmy in the Sky.
Yeah. So we lost that. And Wink Martindale was also in a Keel video.
Oh, well, there you go. That's a claim to fame.
I think The Right to Rock or something like that.
Nice. The Winkster. Rocking with Ron Keel.
Yeah. So that happened. And then we want to talk very briefly. The Who has kicked out Zach Starkey for playing too loud. And now Zach Starkey, son of Ringo, has been with The Who for 30 years. And they do a gig recently where the drumming is too loud and Daltrey fires him. So
which is, there's got to be some more backstory to that, because you don't kick out a cat that's been with you
30 fucking years,
rehashing the old hits for money for the past 30 years. And
it's not like The Who has been relevant for decades.
They were relevant before the 30 years, and then now they're just
they literally just put out another version of their greatest hits that added some stuff off the last two.
Yeah, but those albums, nobody listens. Yeah, nobody listens to anything past the Kenny Jones era.
Not really. And why should you?
Why should you? But the thing is too, Daltrey kicked out Kenny Jones as well. When Kenny Jones from the Faces replaced Keith Moon, I thought he was a solid fucking drummer. He was a full member of the band. You know, he's in the band photos. When they, you know, there was 4 members. He was the drummer.
Yeah, he played on It's Hard and Face Dances.
Yeah, some great songs. And
those are excellent.
When they did their first cash-in big money reunion tour in the late 80s, that was a killer show. I went and saw that tour. I loved it. But Kenny Jones was not invited back because he was not wild and chaotic enough like Keith Moon. Like, Daltrey really loved Keith Moon's drumming style. And he thought Kenny Jones was just had too steady of a beat. That's usually not why drummers get kicked out.
It's Kenny Jones is a excellent drummer, but let's get to the topic, get this rocking.
All right, Bruce Lee, let's go.
But yeah, I feel like Daltrey
I have to
can't
say,
hear anymore, and just rather than admit he's off key, he lashed out at it.
Who knows? There's probably more to it. Anyways, just quick public service announcement. If you hear a dog barking in the background, we got a new dog. His name is Charles Bukowski, and he's in the next room. And if you hear any yelping, that's Charles. So.
Oh, Hank.
Oh, Hank.
All right.
So stop eating and start talking.
Yeah.
People are waiting around. Let's go.
Yeah, they are. So, Unsettled Matters, The Life and Death of Bruce Lee, written by Tom Bleecker. Now, Tom Bleecker actually trained privately with Bruce Lee. They shared numerous mutual friends in the martial arts community back in the late 60s and 70s, and in the Hollywood film industry. Then Tom Bleecker also co-authored with Bruce's widow, Linda Lee, the Bruce Lee story, which that would be adapted by Universal for the motion picture The Dragon, that had Jason Lee of no relation playing Bruce Lee. A great role to land, but we've not seen Jason Lee since.
Isn't Jason Lee related to Lee Van Cleef?
They both stand up when they pee, so possibly.
Okay, I think they can both clear a room with a beer fart.
Yeah. So Unsettled Matters is the result.
Oh, wait, he's related to David Lee Roth. That's right.
Okay, and 6 Degrees from Kevin Bacon.
Keep going.
Unsettled Matters is the result of like 4 years of intense investigative research that Bleecker basically went to like back alleys of Hong Kong. He gathered obscure court documents uncovered in LA and Seattle. And it's like we said before, it covers his whole life and everything from the Green Hornet. He had done bit parts. Green Hornet was a popular show, but canceled after like 26 episodes. And Bruce Lee just does a smattering of things in LA or in Hollywood, and goes to Hong Kong, like we'd said before. He was teaching Jeet Kune Do to celebrities. He was friends with Steve McQueen. And in this book, they talk about Bruce Lee telling Steve McQueen that he's going to be as big as bigger than Steve McQueen. And Steve McQueen sends Bruce a giant poster of Steve McQueen's face, and he signs it. And Bruce Lee was just so pissed off about it. And throughout that book, you get a sense of Bruce's insecurities, that he really needed you to look up to him. He really needed your envy, if you will.
He had a lot of pride for sure. Yeah.
But it's just weird that there's a part in the book where he's carrying around a pamphlet of the new Rolls Royce, probably a 71 or 72 Rolls Royce, and he's basically walking around showing people this pamphlet. Look at the Rolls Royce I'm getting, and you know, anybody did that to me, I'd be like, yeah, okay, great, you know, whatever. So it was kind of sad to read that, to realize that he was so hung up on what everyone else thought. And you would think that as you became Bruce Lee and you were doing all this stuff, that your confidence and sense of celebrity would be intact enough that you wouldn't really care so much what other people thought. But anyway, just to run through, he headed to Hong Kong, got him with Raymond Chow. Now in Hong Kong, the triads basically infiltrated the entertainment industry, so they were getting a kickback from singers, from actresses, actors,
movie production studios.
Studios. I mean,
you didn't shoot a film in Hong Kong without paying them off.
Yeah. Or they would show up and wreck the set, you know, whatever. It was all
you basically you paid them off.
Yeah.
Unless you were Bruce Lee, thus some of the complications that arose. But
yeah. And you know, so he gets in with Raymond Chow and does a three film deal, Golden Harvest. We talked about Big Boss and Fists of Fury, how he directed Way of the Dragon. Well, each of those movies did better than the last one. Way of the Dragon, I don't think did as well, but they certainly pitched it as doing well. And so internationally, he's really become quite the celebrity. And then he does he's friends with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He does like a 30-minute fight sequence, just kind of screwing around. But he did it. It ends up being like 30 minutes of footage that they end up piecing together to make Game of Death. And but during all of these movies, Bruce Lee, he's taking steroids and other medicine for back pain, both real and imagined. And so as he's
cortisone and steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say he's self-administering cortisone. Now, doctors in the 70s, in the early 70s, would have just dismissed, cortisone, it's harmless. Well, studies now, all these years later, deteriorates the bone. And especially if you're self-administering, well, that's enough. I'll keep it. Let me do it.
Yeah. And the steroids too, they weren't really aware of all the side effects from steroids. So he had all these anger issues and he didn't realize the steroids were causing them. He was born, and it says this in the book, with an underdeveloped hormonal system, basically. So he didn't completely, and this is odd fact, but he didn't completely go through puberty. And so he apparently had a low sex drive and had trouble building muscle mass because of this. And he was taking some medications for all that, which were helping, and the steroids helped them build the muscle mass. But he struggled, which probably explains why he was such an obsessive exercise fanatic, because he struggled so much with his health. And most of the bios don't really get into all this shit that was going on, but he was pushing himself to the brink physically. Especially towards the end.
He would even hook himself up to these electronic muscle shock things to manipulate the muscles while he slept to to continue the workout, if you will.
Yeah, it was crazy. But
Which is just
he had trouble.
nuts.
That ripped look that you see in those posters, that's steroids. And he had without the steroids, he had trouble maintaining a muscular look, which
physique.
He needed for this career he chose.
It would not have gone well to just be just thin, almost like a young boy's body. He needed to be ripped. But and he also constant daily use of marijuana. So then he starts.
Not the Mary Jane.
Well, then he starts seeking pain relief from the side effects of the drugs that he was already consuming. So these constant ups and downs, mood swings. We talked about the sexual dysfunction, massive insecurity, self-esteem issues, being obsessed with the workout. And he went so far, one of the side effects was over perspiration. So he gets his sweat glands removed.
Yeah, the sweat glands in his armpit, he had them surgically removed.
To do that.
That there's a lot of shit. His body was not in a balanced, good state.
No, and for, you think about somebody who's maybe 6 feet tall, maybe 6'2", and weighs, 250, 280, and they have a good physique muscle-wise, and they can drink 7, 8 beers because of their height and weight. Well, Bruce Lee's like thin and short, so these drugs that he's taking are having massive effects, whereas maybe you and I wouldn't have the same.
I think anybody who's taking that amount of steroids, end up having roid rage and all the rest of it.
Yeah. So by 72, his body's dealing with deteriorating bone mass. Just as he was achieving worldwide international fame, and his body's betraying him internally. So Raymond Chow is faced with Bruce leaving Hong Kong. Much like Elvis leaving Sun Records, Elvis goes off to RCA. Sam Phillips was happy. Hey, man, here's my take. You buy me out, and good cat. Elvis goes on to bigger things. But Raymond Chow wasn't going to let that shit go down. And this is where it gets weird. At the end of the book, they're talking about the possibilities. We've already discussed how much drugs he was doing. So it's very possible that Bruce Lee basically choreographs his own death by doing all these things to his body. But
inadvertently, not purposefully.
Yeah, not purposely.
Yeah.
But he just went down a rabbit hole, and you can't. There's people that have trouble with steroids to this day, end up killing themselves and shit. But May 10th of 73, Bruce Lee collapses during a session, a dialogue session for Enter the Dragon. They filmed it in Hong Kong. He has these epileptic seizures and headaches, so he's rushed to Hong Kong Baptist Hospital. Doctors diagnose a cerebral edema, and they reduce the swelling through the administration of mannitol, which is something that they gave at the time. Now, so that happens in May, and it's very possible that they tried to poison him again, and cause this, and then doctors treated him and found him in perfect health. Everything was fine, and then Bruce goes back to his daily regimen of self-administering and all that. Well, then July 20th, he's in Hong Kong. This is the story that they gave the world, that he was going to go have dinner with George Lazenby,
or Lazenby. I don't know.
Lazenby, Raymond Chow, and Betty Ting Pei, an actress, but this was really his little side piece. And this is the problem that Tom Bleecker brings up in the book, that Bruce Lee was about to leave Hong Kong and go to Hollywood. In Hollywood, he was basically going to have his pick of movies that had been greenlit. So he had that about to happen. All these actresses wanted to act opposite him. He was basically going to have the pick of the litter, and be in Hollywood and never go back to Hong Kong. So this story that Raymond Chow says, "Oh, we were going to meet at this restaurant, and we're talking about Game of Death. We're going to work on Game of Death," and that's all Raymond Chow had. So he was going to play that to the hilt, and
there was no work on a Game of Death movie before Bruce Lee died. That was something Raymond Chow made up, and then they used the footage and so they did make a movie, but Bruce Lee never intended that footage to be used in a movie. And never worked on a script with him.
No,
there's a lot of conflicting stories about that last day. And there's also some interesting, there were a couple large life insurance policies taken out on Bruce.
Yeah.
One that him and his wife took out, but there was another one that Raymond Chow took out that Bruce wasn't aware of.
Right.
And that's kind of odd. Some odd shit going on. He shot The Way of the Warrior, the one that shot in Rome. The reason he shot it in Rome is because he wanted to get away from the triads.
Yeah.
He didn't want to have to pay them off. Yeah. So he's pissed off the triads. Raymond Chow's about to lose a cash cow with him leaving. There's all kinds of shit. There's motivation there for somebody to take him out.
And Betty was his mistress, a minor actress. She would not have been some authority to weigh in on a script or co-write.
She wouldn't have been at a Game of Death meeting, and again, there was no Game of Death script before he died, so that's
this became box office gold, and he would not have worked with Raymond Chow again, I don't think.
No, he wanted to go back to Hollywood and rub it in Steve McQueen's face.
Yeah, and I think very similar to Jimi Hendrix's death, I think what really happens, the girlfriend wakes up and they're OD'd, possibly poisoned. But I think Bruce Lee was left to chill, and then they called the ambulance, because they didn't want a repeat of May 20th. So, but yeah, the book again is called Unsettled Matters: The Life and Death of Bruce Lee. It's amazing. It's one of the best books, and it really feels right that Tom Bleecker has really kind of stumbled on the real issue, that his death does not make sense the way.
Yeah. And also his life he was a fallible human being, it strips all the mythology away. He was a phenomenal, doesn't take anything away from his work ethic or the fact that he was a phenomenal martial artist, but he had his struggles,
It's just sad, to watch Enter the Dragon now and realize that even in those scenes, his body, I don't know what, it's almost like he would have had to have taken 2 years to rehabilitate or something. I don't know.
He was powered up on steroids for that movie.
Yeah. I just don't know if there was a doctor that could have saved him from all of that. Like, he would have had to, enough of this back pain bullshit, he would have had to, everything would have had to go. And I just don't know that would have been possible. But anyway, so the Warrior apparently would have been Kung Fu, and they Hollywood did their own thing.
So when he's in Hollywood, before he went back to Hong Kong, one of the things he did is he pitched a TV series to the networks. It was going to be a Kung Fu master who lived in the Old West. And they took that idea and ran with it without Bruce Lee, and without his original kind of idea, which apparently was about a Chinese immigrant landing in San Francisco. And they basically just they did the David Carradine version, which everybody knows and loves, which was good anyways. But basically, some Bruce Lee's daughter Shannon Lee worked together with the show creator Jonathan Tropper to bring Bruce Lee's original idea to life, and it's just fucking phenomenal. Mm-hmm. It's on. You can find it on Max. There's 3 seasons. I see it as a mix of a kung fu movie, a western.
Is it on Netflix or Max?
It's on Max.
Okay.
And I see it as a mix of like a kung fu movie, a western with heavy dose of Quentin Tarantino. There's very, very many Tarantino moments in this thing. Just great, snappy dialogue, killer fight scenes and action sequences.
And the sets are just you're there. You're in the streets of San Francisco.
Yeah, it's great.
And Carl Malden is not in The Warrior. So.
No, yeah, you're not in the TV show The Streets of San Francisco. You're in the actual streets of San Francisco from the late 1800s. Right. So it's post Civil War San Francisco. There's a whole contingent of Irish community, and a lot of these guys fought in the Civil War, so they're recent veterans. You've got the main character's name is Assam. He's a Chinese martial artist who gets off the boat in the first episode and falls in with a Tong, which is basically a gang or a triad called the Hop Way. And he's such a kick-ass fighter. He rises through the ranks of the Hop Way and befriends young June, who is the heir apparent to the leadership of the Hop Way. The Hop Way is being run by young June's father at the beginning of the show. And the other main characters, Toy is this woman who runs a brothel, who's also killer fighter. Young June, who I mentioned, is the leader, the heir apparent to the Hop Way. And then Mai Ling, who runs the rival gang that the Hop Way are always fighting. And one of the things that gets revealed in the course of the show is that Assam is Mai Ling's brother. He actually came to the United States looking for her, and when he finds her, he realizes she's the leader of the gang that's blood rivals to the gang he has fallen in with. So it's an interesting dynamic there. The choreography is inspired by Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do. So you get to see a lot of Jeet Kune Do action. I can't rave strongly enough about the fight sequences. Just incredible.
The other historical thing is the Chinese had these little hatchets, and they would have fights back then. And
that's where the term hatchet man comes from.
Yeah, people were just getting like, you can't defend some dude coming out.
You got this gang of screaming motherfuckers running at you they all know kung fu and they're wielding hatchets.
And this little goddamn lop your wrist off.
It's crazy. So basically, the originally aired, the first 2 seasons aired on Cinemax, and then what was called HBO Max at the time, they brought the season 3 because they were going to end it after season 2, which would have sucked. And there was a grassroots campaign, so they brought it back on Max, finish it up on season 3. There's still people out there on social media lobbying for more seasons. I think it's fine the way it ends, but there's
season 3. There's a character that gets sent off to the insane asylum. And back in the day, when you maybe got a woman pregnant or you were just tired of some uppity woman making threats to ruin your marriage or something. You just had her sent off. And,
yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
there's
was not
a beautiful woman who's the wife of the mayor. She's a lot younger than him. She was kind of betrothed to the mayor by her father in order to get favors from the mayor, and she ends up having a secret affair with Assam. And at some point, the mayor, no, it's not the mayor. It's one of his henchmen, gets her framed for being crazy and sent off to an asylum. And that's it. She's gone. You never see her again. And some people don't like that, but that's that's fucking how it was. Down the rabbit hole, gone.
And that's a true story as far as women getting sent off. There's stories of the one story I read as late as like the 1920s. A woman and her neighbor, they decide to go grocery shopping in the morning, and a cop shows up like, what are you two women walking along here unaccompanied by a man? They're like, well, we're going to the grocery store. The hell you are. And he takes them in as potential prostitutes. And these women spent a month in jail trying to get out. The one woman's baby almost died because it had been left at home. Just stories like that. You can look back in history. It was not a good time.
No. But those Buster Keaton movies, they fucking rocked.
Those rocked. And Charlie Chaplin, if we're going to go that way.
Yeah, I prefer Keaton. But all right. So anyways, the first season, Assam arrives in San Francisco. He joins the Hop Way. The leader is Father Jun, and he befriends young Jun, who's the son. They're clashing with the Long Z, which is the rival gang, or Tong, as they're called. Mai Lee she's the consort of the leader of the Long Z, but she eventually rises to become the leader of the Long Z herself. There's a lot of tension between the Irish community and the Chinese community because they're fighting over who gets to have the crappy jobs.
Yeah, and that literally went down.
That's yeah.
They had is the real.
I looked it up. There were riots in Chinatown.
Yeah,
by angry Irish people because you're taking our shitty jobs.
Yeah,
like. I want that shitty job. No, I want that shitty job.
And at the time too, if you ever read Leon Uris's The Jungle, these people were fighting for pennies to feed their families. So in a way, it's like you can see both sides. Well, you brought us here. We're here. We need to survive too.
El Condor in the house. Boom, 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 boom.
Check out the website. We got merch. We got gloves. We got t-shirts. We got food. We got mugs. We got stickers. We got hoodies.
Okay.
We made a little rap there. That was good.
Nuclear bombs.
Yeah, that is official. We are selling that
out.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Brush your teeth.
Did you like my beatbox in there? That was
good.
That
was parenting. That was good.
Yeah.
Nuclear bombs.
All right. So we've got nuclear bombs on the snagsandsilky.com.
Yeah.
So season 2, tensions escalate between the Hop Way and the Long Z as Mai Ling consolidates power, leading the Hop Way. Assam grapples with his loyalties because once he finds out his sister's in charge of the rival gang, there's a lot of inner conflict going on there. So the Irish, the leader, the guy who leads the Irish labor contingent starts rising in power, befriending powerful people. He's an interesting character too. The thing I like about this show is you don't have these black and white good guys and bad guys.
Everyone's dirty. Everyone's anti-hero.
And everyone's got something redeeming quality. There's one or two politicians in there who don't have any redeeming qualities, but that's just like real life. But but it's the characters are very three-dimensional.
But they're so rich, you just don't want to see this end. I could easily watch 5 or 6 or 2 or 3 more seasons.
I think it would start getting repetitive. Because towards the end, we'll get to what happens at the end. So season 3, there's a lot of conflict and power struggles. Basically continue. I'm trying to think of exactly what happens. Basically, the arc of the thing is, the whole show is Assam rising in power in the Hop Way to becoming a contemporary with Young June. Then Young June actually takes over the Hop Way from his father and kind of exiles his father. And then towards the end in season 3, you're seeing conflict between Assam and Young June about running the Hop Way.
Yeah, and he's also trying to reach his sister. His sister's like,
yeah, and he does. They form a little bit of an alliance in the last season, and against Young June's wishes, he doesn't really want it as much. The alliance and at the very end, Mai Ling, her boyfriend / I think they get married. Eventually husband, who's like the main fighter in the Long Z. She falls out with him, and she's aligning herself with Assam. And it looks like as it ends, her husband is going to be leading the Long Z, and she's joining up with Assam. And I think if they'd have had another season, then it would be like, okay, now it's her against her ex-husband. It would have been getting like a soap opera, I think. Just too much.
Well, the one thing, though, you've got the time frame. So much was going on. You could have pitched all of this up against the, the laundry and just the history of Chinatown. It could go into like the 1918. A lot of these guys were some of them went.
Did you say laundry? It could have gone into
that history of Chinatown, the
Chinese laundries,
the drugs that were coming into that.
I don't think Chinese laundries would have been a very entertaining storyline.
No, but those were fronts, so that it was and then the bringing the women in, it was human trafficking. There were so many things they didn't get into.
But there's one guy in the police department who's a couple guys in the police department who you start to empathize with and have redeeming qualities. And you see this one guy's rise to the chief of police. So it's an interesting character arc. It's a good 3 seasons. It's fantastic fighting. It's got, there's a brothel, so you've got, tits. Almost every episode's got tits, which is nice. It's got witty. The writing is really witty and funny. There's a lot of great humor and stuff. And there's a couple set piece episodes. Like there's one where Young June and Assam are taking a stagecoach ride through the Old West. They leave San Francisco and they go out into the Old West to recover a body for Father June. And that one is a total Tarantino movie. It's a little, and they end up in this restaurant / bar. And they get holed up in the restaurant / bar. They're stranded there. And then these people try to rob it. And there's this big shootout. And it's that one is very fucking Tarantino.
With a dash of Sergio Leone with just the West. And
there's
everything.
Sergio Leone throughout this whole thing as well.
That was what I'm, just the history. The history with the backdrop of the late 1800s going into the 1900s, I just think they could have continued. I just enjoyed it that much that I didn't care what, just and all the characters are so rich. by the end of the third season, you feel like you know these people,
Yeah.
So it in a way it's like watching The Sopranos, where you don't want it to end. Boardwalk Empire comes to mind. Just all these really, really rich, well-written characters that were not just two-dimensional or cliche. They just you could just kind of put them in real life situations and continue at least another. Like I thought there'd be another season, and you'd have that girl come back from the get out of the mental
Yeah.
thing.
It's interesting. The first time I watched the series, I wanted more. And then the second time, I just finished it up for the second time, like last week. And I was like, that's actually a good place to end,
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's
Yeah.
because I knew it was coming to an end, I don't know.
Yeah. And sometimes the second time you realize that the loose ends are wrapped up. But I
just think it would have been, now Mai Ling and Assam are gonna fight Mai Ling's ex-husband. So what? It's just people constantly switching sides and fighting each other. It would just get old after a while.
Yeah, it just depends on, like, again, what was actually going on in San Francisco at the time, because there's just so much backdrop history that they did have in the show. It could have they could have done a lot still, but
anyways, it's totally worth watching. Like 10-star recommendation. You gotta rush out and watch this immediately. It's on Max.
I mean, a lot of people they binge watch things. This is a solid series, 3 seasons. Most of us, just finished up 1923 or Yellowstone, and you're looking for what else to watch, or whatever shows you're into. Here's a show sitting on Max that is very, very well acted.
3 season back to back Kung Fu Attack.
And the sets are just solid. It's not like a stage warehouse and they're filming all in there. They're really elaborate with everything. Much like like you watch Boardwalk Empire, just how fucking amazing that show was. So
Boardwalk Empire, I watched that one twice too. That was a great one.
I have a friend up in Atlanta that was moving, and she sent me all 6 seasons Boardwalk Empire on DVD. Just like here, and I'm like, okay, I've got Max, I don't need these. But the DVDs have a lot of extra, behind the scenes stuff. The Boardwalk Empire, that's pretty cool.
Oh, can you hear Charles Bukowski yelping? Yeah. He's in his playpen. He's in his playpen with the door closed, and he's not happy about it.
Right.
So, anyways, that's Bruce Lee, and that's Warrior. Definitely check out the book, Bruce Lee Unsettled Matters, and check out the TV show Warrior. Both worth watching. Yeah,
Unsettled Matters is probably one of the better bio books I've read. The guy does not, sometimes you can be suspicious or skeptical when somebody's maybe has something to gain by it. Other than you buying his book, the perspective that he provides, you're like, damn.
He says, when he co-wrote that biography with Bruce Lee, with Linda Lee, that he was instructed by Bruce Lee's lawyer, who basically ran the business estate and everything. Nothing scandalous, no questioning the death,
Yeah.
And so he was forced to whitewash the history of Bruce Lee and, pump up the mythology of Bruce Lee. And he felt like he knew Bruce Lee as a human being, and he knew Bruce's struggles, and he empathized with the suffering, struggling side of Bruce Lee, and he felt like people needed to understand that side of Bruce Lee as well. And so
and
that's a good motivation
for
writing the book. It's not like this scandal rag at all. It's just he's just saying, look, this guy was a human, and he had a hard time.
And the thing is, addiction is real. Like if somebody dies of cancer, you don't blame them or hate them. And this is he was
addicted to steroids and cortisol.
Yeah, but I'm sure in his mind, I'm taking this for my health. And it just sent him down. It's some evil shit.
Yep.
Think of the people that took OxyContin and Condone and all that shit, and they're fucking hooked through the nose.
Yeah. Well, there's a time back in the old days when pharmacies would give you cocaine. Just dish it out. You feeling a little fatigued? Here's some cocaine.
Yeah, and you innocently take this stuff. Elvis did it. So many people took this stuff to try and keep going with the fame. And
what do you think?
It's sad to see.
What do you think people are taking now that we're going to discover like 10, 20 years from now is horrible for you?
All your oxys and all the pills.
They already know that. This what is it now that you think people are taking? They're going to be like, oh, vitamin D, it's terrible for you.
No, it's whatever's currently being applied with the
pharmaceutical companies.
Pharmaceuticals, weight loss pills.
Yeah.
Who knows what's gonna this new you'll lop off pounds, and next thing you know your babies are born with short arms,
3 heads.
Yeah. Third eye.
Crazy.
But just a phenomenal book. We had to kind of redo the sometimes you get the cart before the horse.
Oh, that silenced him.
No, we'll do a show and it sparks and you end up reading something out and you're like, shit, we should have put that in there,
Well, when Silky hit me to this book, I downloaded the sample and I was hooked immediately. And then we were like, we got to do another Bruce Lee episode. And at the same time, I'm in the middle of rewatching Warrior. And I was like, we got to do a Warrior episode. And then we just decided, let's throw them together into one episode. It's all related. So
it is. And I think it just makes a better episode for both,
It rounds out the Bruce Lee story. If you have not heard our first Bruce Lee episode, go back and check that out. And you get more of the. We had to come back and relate that because you get more of the classic Bruce Lee just bio story in that first episode, and then we're giving you the extra shit, and then the TV series that he inspired. This is the bonus. If it was a DVD, this would be the bonus features.
Yeah, and and a perfect vehicle to mention Zach Starkey being booted out of the Who, which is just silly.
Yeah, and then the death of the Winkster, and who knows what kind of shit was going on with the Winkster. There were probably there's a lot of mysterious, dark, shadowy shit going on around the Winkster.
I'm not sure what kind of crazy shit the Wink man was.
I think Wink Martindale was probably on some serious drugs and mixed up in some shadowy underworld shit, man.
Yeah, whores and jet skis.
And dynamite and Crisco.
Yeah. So there's a lot of shocking shit probably going to come out in the next few weeks.
Yeah, about the Winkster.
Just on how he took. He may have gone out in a blaze of glory. Who knows?
You never know, man. Or Courtney Love. Courtney Love took him out.
Yeah, 2 whores on the D and a face full of blow, and
there you go.
Firing off a shotgun, nut deep in a hog. Who knows?
You never know. Yeah,
you really don't. But
I think that's a perfect image to end the episode on.
All right, I was just trying to pad it out to 50 minutes. So,
we're 6 seconds away.
Yeah.
4, 3,
all right, kids.
2, 1. 50 minutes.
There it is.
But if I lopped off the very beginning, which I might when I edit, that might not exactly come out exactly. So don't hold us to that.
What's the very beginning when
silence before I yell, "Hey there, Skullheads."
Oh, well. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that was a good show. So
yeah, and we had our special guest Charles Bukowski, the dog, yelping in the background for moral support.
Another exciting segment with El Condor.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, let's get off of here so I can edit this thing.
Alrighty.
Next week, same bat time, same bat channel. We got some major shit lined up. We got our schedule fucking filled.
Nice.
We got good shit coming. So
right on.
All right. Peace out.
Peace out. Deuces, kids.